So I'll ask the speakers to come back. There were a few questions in there. The link between the universities and journalism. The search for a new language to try to combat the language that is coming at people. I think you spoke about that, Mary. Also, are students aware of what to do about that? I think that's very interesting. And the final speaker then raising this idea of campus companies. So I'm a TV person. You have a soundbite length of time that I won't even define. So do you want to go first, since you're leaning forward and then we'll...
Oh, right. That's what it takes. Right, soundbites. Well, thank you, Pascal, for the question. The media professor in me obviously thinks about this quite a lot. There are lots of similarities between, at one level, journalism and what's happening in education with, you could say dumbing down, narrowing of agendas, the obsession with brands. Oh my God, are we obsessed with branding universities? Goldsmiths is branded as the radical university, so what a fantastic place to work, because if you're radical, you are actually fulfilling the mission of the university. But sadly, other people are stuck with not such great brands. But more importantly, I think what we're really seeing is that what we're seeing with the marketisation of public spaces, and I include journalism and I see education, and that is the problem. There's no point saying journalism has a flawed history, universities have been elitist institutions. That to me is just entirely negative, albeit true. It's a question of what we are going to do to reinvigorate, reinvigorate those spaces. Secondly, the difficulties of challenging common sense rhetoric, how difficult it is. It's absolutely true. I'll give one example, because we are near the end of it at the moment, which is how our research is measured in the UK, the Research Excellence Framework, which I hope you don't know about. Unfortunately, you probably do. I teach Weber last week. We had a long discussion about the irrationality of rationality. I mean, the Research Excellence Framework is the perfect example of that, because in university across university, where staff are encouraged to do research, whole sections of them are not entered into the Research Excellence Framework because it's done in a 1, 2, 3 or 4. You are scored, your intellectual soul is marked 1, 2, 3 or 4. And if you're 1 or 2, then you are not deemed worthy to be entered. Now, if that is not the irrationality, it's scientific, it's based on metrics, it makes perfect sense if you're a robot, it doesn't really fit academia. And I think it may be hard to challenge common sense ideas. It comes back to campaigning, and this is the final point. Whether it is about the outsourcing, we fought off the outsourcing of an element of our language provision, because we said we knew that where it would go. If you outsource that element, why would you not outsource lots of other different things? And we won that on the basis that it would create a worse condition for the students involved and for the staff. When it comes to the ref, that's a much, much more difficult campaign, because who wants to stick their neck above the parapet and say, we're going to boycott the ref? The word boycott would terrify people. There is such hatred, because it affects researchers' very essence, that there's a prospect for it. And finally, in terms of students, I mean, what shocks me to this day, because we should never blame each other, too many people do that, but what shocks me is that for those of us who are teachers, how often do we talk about this to our students? It seems crazy. The best meeting we ever had at Goldsmiths was an official departmental meeting, where students thought, oh, it's an official meeting, I better show up. And then we just said, this is what's happening to the universities. Do you disagree? I think absolutely getting the points across to students to try and invigorate them will completely transform the nature of the resistance we put up.
Okay, thanks, Des. Mary, I'll ask you also, there was one other point that I forgot to mention from the audience, moving this into the whole areas of sciences, engineering as well. I think the debate is probably there as well, but if you want to...
I think it has to move, because we're not going to be able to fight this on our own in arts and humanities, etc. I mean, we need solidarity. I just regret that I didn't hear anything other than things that I absolutely are very thought-provoking and very good points. So it's impossible to respond to them all. I just think I wish there had been more time for contributions from the floor, because I think that would have been so interesting. But anyway. I'd just like to make just 2 replies. I had actually crossed out from my script the word tenured. Tenured academics are not, in my view, the victims. Tenured academics. I mean, I don't want to get into the question of blame or anything. I think we shouldn't blame, but a lot of things have happened. Now, if you look at the United States, you might think things are difficult here. In the United States, the amount of casual labour in the universities is absolutely mind-blowing. I mean, the number of students who are who are taught in a lot of universities by tenured professors. The number of times they see their tenured professors, I mean, it's an extraordinary phenomenon. I've written an awful lot about it in my book, because as far as I'm concerned, that's where it all started. That's where it all began. I know the UK is particularly is in a particularly bad situation, but I think we've imported from both sides, from West and from the East, and we're stuck with the worst. I thought the contributions from the two students I thought were just fantastic. I mean, I've taken them down, and I think it's worse than students not being told the truth or being made to think about this. They're being told lies.
Absolutely.
They're being lied to, and they're being lied to. Really all the time. And I think it's something I'm deeply, deeply ashamed.
Okay, thank you very much, Mary. Thank you. We're wrapping up now. Just if there's any final announcements or anything that the owners want to know, you're happy enough. Yeah, that's fine.
The only thing, very briefly, it's on this, but in case you don't read it, we have a new website, defendtheuniversity.ie. You can sign digitally there as well and save us some transcribing. And also, we would very much welcome contributions to that. So it is broadened, like from the science and engineering part of it. We don't want it to be all humanities, bleating on about being marginalised, etc. So yes, we would very much welcome contributions for that site.
And finally, you want to make a brief announcement?
Just about solidarity, we've encouraged people in the UK to sign the Charter, but next week, if you can return the favour, all higher education unions are out on strike next Thursday in the UK. It's the first ever cross-union strike against the very lousy pay offer, albeit maybe not as lousy as some of those you've been dealt with, but it's 13% pay cut in 5 years for us. So next Thursday we will all be out on strike. So if there's any message of support, would be wonderful to receive next week.
Okay, thanks so much to everybody for coming along, and I hope you have taken away, or will take away lots from your attendance.